Okay, so I love this topic. Why it was hard for me to trust God. I'm going to share with you some reasons why it was hard for me to trust God. Reason number one, I just wasn't raised that way. I was raised with amazing parents. Um, my perspective of growing up and the information that I gathered as a child was it was a lot of struggle, and it was a lot of you put in the deeds, you put in the work, you put in the ethic, your work ethic. God don't really care about that. It's God to help you through, or God to help you through it. But it really wasn't dependent on God and seeking God first and going to God first. It was, from my perspective growing up, it was a lot of leaning into your own strength to do it, not asking for help because we got too much pride for that, or you know, working really, really hard. And there's nothing wrong with working diligent. Absolutely not. I do believe that there is it is a problem when we work hard and we lean into our own trust and our own strength. And so there's a duality I recognize, that my own understanding of how I thought I had to show up and the agreements that I had, in information that I gathered as a child, as far as the subliminal message of trust, it really wasn't trust. It was, the word trust really was a bad thing, so to speak, unconsciously. It was like trust was fear. Trust was something that you didn't do because you would be hurt. You would be taken advantage of. So trust, when they talk about trusting God, I didn't do it. I didn't do that. At least I don't recall. I recall always relying on my own strength and staying guarded. Another reason why it was hard for me to trust God and step into this new person that you see before you, was my perspective of God was to see him on Sundays. you know, um, to see him on Sundays when I went to church, and pick the same routine back up again the following Sunday. So there was a definite disconnection that I had with the Spirit of God, a definite disconnection that I had with, as it relates to being in relationship and having an encounter and being in an intimate, intertwined relationship, walking with the Lord. It definitely was not that. It was something that I didn't think God had time for me. It was something that, once again, I was trying to fix on my own strength and fix life and do things on my own and figure, I got it, I got it, I got it. Very defensive, very rigid, very afraid. Trust? What? What do you mean trust? I can't trust. It's not good to trust. You'll get hurt. So I'll hold all these things on my own, and I figure it out on my own until that didn't work anymore. That became tiring. That affected my body. That affected my life. And when I cried out to God, God answered me, and I was willing to trust the voice that was leading me into the path of truth. So another perspective, another reason why it was hard for me to trust God, was that my perspective of God was hardwired in struggle and feeling unseen. So therefore, there was a disconnection that I had, and I mentioned that earlier. And for many of you, that's probably the case. My perspective of God was hardwired in struggle, in feeling unseen. So therefore, there was a disconnection that I had. It reminds me of pushing love away. You push love away because pushing it away will protect you, so you think. So it's fear. It's a defense mechanism that you've created to keep your walls up, to keep yourself guarded. So letting God in and being disconnected from that was how I operated. And number three, why was it hard for me to trust God? I relied on my own strength, like I've mentioned before. It was a learned behavior, as I've said, of how I learned how to survive. And I taught myself not to ask for help. It was a defense mechanism. Now, I've mentioned all of these different reasons, and I'm quite sure in your own mind you've had your own reflections of why you had a hard time or are having a hard time trusting God. And you're going to have your own reflections within yourself, or at least I would encourage you to have your own reflections within yourself of your own belief patterns and why is it that you are having a hard time trusting God. Now, whether if you think of all the reasons and if you've come on this video and whether if you believe that whatever your background was, we have all people from all different walks of life, and whether if your background was healthy or not, all of that doesn't matter when you come into the knowledge of God. And when you step into the awareness of how God sees you. You are not the layers you thought you had to carry. And I'm going to say that again. You are not the layers that you thought you had to carry. And with a consistent decision to choose what God has spoken to you, to believe what God has spoken to you in your spirit about you, concerning you, old things and all things that are heavy, old things are passed away and all things truly become new. All things, your mind becomes new, your heart becomes new, your spirit becomes new, your soul becomes new, your body becomes new. I know that because this has personally happened to me. But you have to be willing to exchange what you're carrying for what God wants to give you. I apologize for the dogs in the background, which are my neighbor's dogs. But hopefully you receive this message, and I will be back with more. But let me know in the comments, how is it that you are having a hard time? What are your reasons why you're having a hard time trusting God? And what are you now shifting into learning how to trust God more? How are you leaning into trusting God more, the voice of God more? I want to hear from you. This is good. This is good. We're all going to heal and help each other. And whoever this is for, I pray that this uplifts you and plants a seed in you, to allow God to grow within you even more, and allow God's light to reveal within you, because that darkness that you're carrying is in the way of the truth of who you are and the truth of how God sees you. And all it does is just takes a decision and a choice to choose. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. That's all I got. The dogs are getting on my nerves. But listen, that's all I got. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.